Welcome back to the Self-Employment Podcast. Today I'm joined again by Matt Gross and Jackson Oaks. I'm Jake Bursey. We're just three dudes talking about how business is impacting our lives and what we're doing to increase our business skills and abilities. Really just trying to analyze what it takes to go from idea to market and what that might look like for all of you. Last episode we talked a little bit about how the three of us in our separate business ventures had either started to see success, what we had noticed it wasn't working, what the last 6 months or so has looked like, and what it's going to start looking like now and what the next steps are. Today we'd like to focus more specifically on Matt Gross's company, Ringster. Just a brief synopsis there. He provides some pretty awesome custom jewelry. I think Jackson and I are wearing pieces right now. We'd really like to just chat with Matt about where Ringster is now and what's going to take it to the next level. So Matt, tell us about where Ringster is now. What channels are you using to drive sales? What isn't working? What's giving you the best percentages? Kind of go nitty gritty. If you continue to operate the way you're operating right now, what does the next few weeks look like for you?
Yeah, thank you. Basically, kind of like a couple of the platforms that I'm using for Ringster currently are Etsy, Shopify. I'm on Pinterest. I haven't done much on there yet. I would like to, get onto that a little bit more. I'm on like Instagram and Facebook, which I try to post about every day on there as well. And so those are kind of the platforms that I use for my business right now. The next couple of, weeks or months, if currently where I'm going, I don't know, honestly. Like I haven't really thought about that or where I'm heading, but I hope it's a lot better than it is now. It's a little slow right now, but yeah.
Cool, yeah. So specifically, like you named roughly like 5 different channels that you could be marketing through and gaining revenue from. Can you tell us a little bit about what's working the best now? Like what has your highest quote unquote conversion rate from, clicks to sales? Do you see any value on maybe cutting a couple of these and really just diving deep into producing content? I know last episode you had talked about producing more consistent content. Tell us a little bit more about, do you plan to expand in all 5 areas, all 5 of these different sales channels or medias, or do you want to kind of consolidate and just crush it in a few?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be on like all the platforms like pretty, substantially, but it's just kind of hard to get around to all of them by yourself. And so most recently I've been just kind of on Etsy. Etsy kind of does it for me right now. Etsy actually produces a lot of organic orders right now. So I think I said it last episode or the episode before, but probably about 70% of my orders currently are actually just organic. So I don't even have to pay for those, which is really nice. And that's just kind of the benefit, kind of going on Etsy is that their algorithm just pushes it so hard. And obviously spending less on ads and still getting decent orders is, great. The less money you spend is perfect, especially for a small business owner like me. I can't always afford to constantly be pushing ads. And yeah, I would love to be on all the other platforms, have a bigger influence on them, but I'm just kind of like trying to hit hard on the Etsy. And I was just looking at a statistic, and it actually has like 86 million active users on it. And I'm just like, why don't I have a lot more people looking at my products? I only have a couple thousand through the week, and I'm like, well, there's so much potential out there, and I'm trying to like harness that basically organically, and it's just kind of hard. You kind of have to just work through it and just figure out all the weird tags that you got to tag your products in and see like what's working and what is not, and so yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if you could expand on that statement there. You're pushing for more organic sales then, and so. I think you've mentioned this before. Would you say a majority of your sales are organic? And then for you, what moves the needle? You're on all these platforms. What would you say has driven the most revenue for you?
Yeah, so organic definitely does it for me right now. During like the heavier times, like the holiday seasons, ads definitely obviously work super well. Back in like December, I'd probably say more like half my orders that came in were actually through ads, and so about half and half. But overall, through the life of my shop, it's probably about 70-30 organically. And what moves the needle on that? Taking good pictures, being able to provide like an actual photo that you're going to receive is really important. A lot of my reviews on Etsy actually are people saying that like looks exactly like like the photo and the product in the photo, which is super helpful feedback, knowing that like I'm actually producing stuff that I'm taking pictures of. That it's kind of nice not having to like have someone give me a bad comment like it doesn't look anything like what they promised, and so I like to kind of deliver exactly what I show. So
That's awesome. So you talked a little bit about how, Etsy and these other platforms, there's so many people, driving sales, driving business, and you had mentioned that higher quality photos that you're starting to take recently, this just overall better content, is that starting to push the needle more? If it is, what we mean by needle is, are you getting more sales? Is your conversion rate getting higher? And if it is, what helped you produce better content? Is there something you did? Obviously we can speak because we're watching you do it here in the office, but for our listeners, what are you actively doing to produce that better content? And kind of just go from there.
So yeah, I got a little photo booth set up actually here in the office. It's a pretty new addition. I bought it through my company, which is pretty sweet to say. That's where I've been doing a lot of my kind of like product photo shoots right now. I haven't done any like modeling yet with people, which I do plan on shortly in the next couple of weeks here. But a lot of my new content is being produced in here in the office with my iPhone. To be honest, it's pretty good, or Jake's. I mean, it's a great camera quality, and so I can edit all the stuff through my phone, and so it ends up looking really good, right?
Matt, we've been good friends for a while, and I want to talk or just hit on briefly, removing these walls, and what I mean by that specifically in your case is, what are the things that you're doing? And it sounds like the photo booth is one of them, and getting your own office space is one of them, that either keeps you held accountable or motivates you more to, spend more time and hours here. Because I know that you at one point were running your shop and everything through your apartment, like your private room, right? So is there value in having this space? Because, now you're 10 feet or 20 feet away from a place you can take photos. So the second you get an idea of a better photo or a new necklace or a new piece of jewelry that you want to develop, you can get content for that. So help us understand the maturity of the business, because obviously we know it's important for businesses to move quickly and not like procrastinate. Help us and our listeners understand what value there is to having your own space, a creative space. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but give us your insights there.
No, it totally does make sense. So basically, I did start out of my bedroom, which is not the biggest of any sort, but it worked for a minute there. But I kind of found myself not putting in as many hours as I would like. I would kind of wake up late, roll out of bed, fulfill a couple orders here and there, kind of do some editing on pictures or something, just not enough. I felt like, right? I only got through a couple hours a day, and I was like in my room all day, and I'm like, why am I so inefficient with my time? It's because I've heard this. I don't know where I've heard it from, but basically it's good to have like a set sleep place, a set like eating place, set place to like actually like play games and stuff, whether it be in your room or not. But like it kind of like helps me more knowing that like I've set dedicated spaces for my stuff, and that's why I ended up moving out of my room. It's because first off, I could afford to. Was it a good decision? Yeah, I think it was. But kind of looking on it, sometimes it's just like if I just kind of like was more disciplined, I could have just stayed there and saved however much it is monthly, right? I mean, it is a lot cheaper because there is three of us in here. We all split the rent costs, but it's still like I could have had not have spent that much monthly consistently if I could just figure out like discipline myself to actually put in at least 5 hours a day, and that would have worked just the same. And now I have to drive 10 to 15 minutes every day, but honestly it's better because I get to come here and know that I have to work, and I don't get to like goof off all the time, even though it is fun. And with the three dudes in here, obviously you gonna get some off topic conversations, but it's all fun and games, right? But I do enjoy kind of having a set place to come here and work, and knowing that work's gonna get done here, and that I can actually set up like my photo booth, because there's no way that thing would fit in my room. Like it's probably taller than my room almost, so it's like it wouldn't work, right? And so now I have a shelf here that holds all my jewelry on it, and I have stuff and that I just wouldn't be able to fit in there in the first place. So yeah.
Yeah, I wanna highlight one thing. One thing that has impressed me is, I think a huge hurdle starting out a new business is those first few sales, right? So you start something new, and someone actually buys your product, and I think that's massive. And one thing I think is really cool about this is, I don't think you give yourself enough credit. You're in your room, and you may not have been putting in the work you wanted to be putting in, but something really valuable is having just started. You're in your room, you're out there doing, just a little bit here and there, and you're making sales, right? You start a new business and you're driving sales. And I think too often starting a business gets built up to be too complicated or too expensive or require too much time, and I think you can be working a 9-to-5 job, put in a couple hours here and there, and you can really get something off the ground now through your business. We've got an office here, you've got a photo studio, and you're scaling. So that's an important point I wanted to highlight. Is though you feel like you weren't putting in enough, I think it's cool that you can put in a little bit and you've still seen so much progress. I think that's a huge hurdle, is those first few sales, and you've been driving revenue for quite a few months now.
Yeah, I love that, Jackson. Matt, for sure, you need to give yourself a little more credit. Matt's too humble of a guy, so sometimes we got to hype him up a little bit. And what Jackson was hitting on real quick about the, those hurdles, and I briefly mentioned the wall. It's not that you weren't disciplined, because let's be honest here, someone who doesn't have any discipline they're not gonna see this little insignia on Shopify or Etsy or whatever that they got a notification that they got to sell, and they're not gonna do anything about it, right? They're gonna see, it's like, that's just more work for me to do. But obviously you understand that business is work, so I want to applaud you there. I think it's really cool though that you, to whatever degree, however true it is, finding a space that you can spend more time, dedicate more focused effort into, fulfilling your customers' wishes and working hard to develop better content and better product. I think that's huge. So tell us a little bit about how those first few sales were for you. I know maybe a lot of them were like hyper organic. They were your friends, your family. Tell us a little bit about was there like a threshold that, okay, I have 30, 40 sales under my belt. I know what works. I'm going to keep doing this. Or was there ever a moment where you're like, this isn't even worth it?
Yeah, of course there's always, times that it's like, is this worth it? In the beginning, I think I started selling back of May of 2021. I had like 2 sales that month, and I think the people I knew, to be honest with you, I was just like, sweet, easy stuff. And then what was it? I think maybe it was June when I did that. And then July, I moved in, and I met all you guys. And so then I got I think I had like 10 sales that month, and they're mostly just friends again. I think I had 1 or 2 people randomly off Instagram that I pushed through to my website, which was kind of cool. So those were my 2 first like organic sales that I actually didn't know who they were. And so, yeah, it's kind of cool to see the notification come through off Shopify, just like, ding, you got an order of like however much it was, I don't remember. But, that's always kind of satisfying to know that like it actually works. It's not very fast sometimes and it's not very efficient, but as you go on with it. And like I never thought I'd get into Etsy. I kind of started on it before and I was like, no, this is weird. I don't know. I just wasn't comfortable with it, and so I decided not to do it in the first place. And a couple weeks later I kind of got into it, and I think my next month, which would have been August, I think, or is it September? They're all just meshing together, all the months now. But it was August or September. I think I pushed like 55 orders just because I jumped on Etsy. Which I was like, gosh dang it! Like, why didn't I jump on this earlier? Because I was like, I'm now averaging, and for the rest of the year, I think for the next 4 months, I think I did on average like 55 plus, 50 plus orders per month, which is huge for a small business, right? And that was kind of a thing that I had to learn, was like, I did price a lot of my products pretty cheap just so I'd get a lot more people buying my products. But then I was like, well, if I'm going to be giving away a lot more products for a cheaper price, I'm going to have to order more constantly. And I kind of figured out that like if I price stuff a little higher and get a couple less sales, I make even more money and sell less product. And which in return, I don't have to buy as much product constantly. And so that was kind of like a lesson I learned, because I was giving away a lot of stuff and I was like, holy crap, like I'm making a lot of money, but I'm also having to, replenish a ton, right? But yeah, what was the other? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess just what those steps you've taken now, where has that allowed, like where's your footing now,
Oh,
and where is it gonna be? Like, what's your next few steps?
gotcha. Well, I've been thinking about it a lot. I think a lot of my what I want to be doing more is organic. Like if you can really handle and take care of the organic game and like not having to spend any money on getting people to buy stuff, I mean that's just priceless right there. If you're able to, keep doing that without having to pay anybody about it, I mean that's perfect.
Yeah, I would like to ask about that then, because I think that's a really cool angle. So my question just becomes what does it look like for you to push those organic sales, like the nitty gritty day to day? How are you driving organic sales? Because throughout my life, I've worked on different projects, and I've done some advertising myself as well. And organic sales always really interests me, and is something personally I haven't been super great at. And so this is kind of a broad question, but I would love to dive in just a little bit to your organic sales, like what that looks like and how you're hoping to take that over to the point where you're selling a sustainable amount of product without spending anything on advertising.
Yeah, honestly, it's like just like Instagram, right? I mean, if you post, a story or a post about the jewelry and you tag a ton of different tags in it, obviously it's going to be pushed through the system a little bit. The algorithm is going to catch a hold of it, and you'll get random people liking the photos. A lot of people will just go click on hashtags and go click through all of them, all the posts that have been posted in the last day, and that's how I kind of get a lot of random people that come through. And those sometimes turn into actual sales, right? Because they like the product. And so that's kind of like, that's advertisement on your own end. Whether it's paid or not, I mean, you can literally do it by yourself. And like, because, obviously the more times you post throughout a day, the more stuff that gets pushed through the algorithm and you grow your followers. Like I've grown my followers also by spam following, which is kind of an annoying process. You also get flagged on your account and shut down for a week and a half. That's what I have done. I learned my lesson on that, so I don't spam follow people anymore. But that is a way to kind of like gain a little bit of traction, and I'm slowly gaining more followers every like week because I just post a couple times, right? And so that's an organic way to do it by yourself, and you don't have to obviously pay for it. I'd hope you weren't paying for it at that point, but
Yeah, it's really interesting that you're hitting on not having to pay for something, right? Because a lot of people have this concept in their mind where they have to, they have to spend money to make money. And while that is true, like you would have to have product to sell, you would need some sort of like website hosting.
or that it's someone else's job.
Exactly, or it's someone else's job, right? But what's interesting is you've noticed that, you have this time, you spend time like doing DoorDash to make money, but you also realized, you know what? If I just develop the image or the brand of my company more consistently through posting, you and I have a handful of friends that are big in the world of social media, and a major like underlying consistency there is their consistent content. They're producing content all the time. And I'm not saying you're doing it literally all the time, but you're doing it far more than you used to. And, that's building some, rapport in the social realm. So tell us about like, is the end game over the next 60 days is just produce as much content as you can, develop new products, or is it try it out for another couple of weeks, see if the organic game is getting stronger in total volume, um, or just going back to putting all the money you're making from driving around delivering food into ads, via Etsy or Shopify?
Yeah, I hope it doesn't get to that point, because that's obviously more time in the car than I would like to spend, to actually fund, the way that I run my business. And so obviously I would like to just be as organic as possible. I don't have a ton of like ad spend right now. I'm just kind of trying to couple things out. I think if I was able to get a hold of the organic game even better, and I would just altogether kind of just stop focusing on putting a ton of money towards ads, because if I can get that, I mean, then I'm golden, right? Obviously, I'm going to pay for ads in the future. Like every, good business will always pay for ads, right? Except Tesla. So I don't know how they market themselves by just driving their Teslas around. I mean, I hope I get to that point, but obviously it'll be a while on that one. But I just don't want to spend any money that I don't want to spend, right? And so like if it's not always someone else's job, which I kind of like to reflect on, because if you can do it, just do it until you really can't. And that's a lesson I had to learn, and I got bit in the butt for that one. But it's just like, if you have money doesn't mean you always have to spend it, right? It's just, yeah, if it's just someone else's job, why would I have someone else, why wouldn't I do it, right? If I have the capability to do it myself, why wouldn't I, right? And that was kind of a lesson I had to learn. So, yeah.
All right, Matt, we're going kind of long on time. Thank you so much for sharing, though. There's one more thing I want to hear from you is, what are like the actionable next steps for you, or the thresholds you're trying to hit, right? So we've talked about, okay, you're trying to drive organic sales, and you're on these platforms, you're trying to produce more content, right? But so what for you over the next few weeks, or what are your thresholds you're trying to hit? So what's like the nitty gritty, like reality? Are you trying to hit X amount of reels in a week, or what is that? What are the actionable next steps for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super easy to set a goal for like 3 posts, 4 posts a day, but like that's kind of unrealistic sometimes. Like, I would love to have done that. Like today, I'll probably only get 1 post in, but I think that's just kind of the reality of it. Like, just don't set goals past like expectation. So like, I'm just gonna do one a day, and I'll probably do one tomorrow, and hopefully like 2 the next day, and then 1 the next day, and I kind of just keep moving towards just consistency. Like I hit on a lot. And so yeah, in the next couple of weeks, there's a couple things I would like to have done. I would like to have, getting people in here modeling my jewelry, because that's a thing that I think people like to see when they're scrolling through like shopping and stuff. Obviously, a girl's not going to buy a swimsuit unless they kind of see it on someone, because then they're like, okay, I could look like that, right? And that's kind of what I'm shooting for, is like, if someone's going to see my jewelry on my website, and maybe they happen to be the same like body style or whatever, they'll be like, okay, that's going to look like that on me. I don't just see a product kind of sitting on a table like a lot of my stuff is right now. And so if I can somehow relate more closely to that person individually, that is going to drive more sales, because they're like, okay, because they're already like, I do this, like if I see a picture of something like a shirt on, obviously I'm going to picture myself in that shirt. And so that's obviously like, okay, I can actually see myself in that, and then you buy it, right? That's kind of just, it's more helpful if I, just don't see a shirt just like randomly like sat on a table, because then I don't know what it looks like worn, because that's a totally different thing. And so that's kind of the same thing with the jewelry. And so that's the kind of thing I need to hit on more, is just being able to relate to people a little bit better and easier, right? So yeah.
Cool. I love that you recognize that. I think it's a huge sign of the maturity that you have as a business person, in recognizing it'd be way easier for you to just take a bunch of stills of things, right? But you understand that the next level, the next development is getting it on people consistently, so that I don't have to wonder like, oh, is this going to look weird on me? For a necklace specifically, how low is it going to hang on my chest? You're kind of you're so much image based anyway, because it literally is jewelry. Jewelry doesn't just sit in a box. People are wearing it, right? So I think it's really cool that you recognize that. We're excited to see where that goes for you. And I'm sure we'll be chatting a bunch more with you about it in future episodes. I think it's really cool just for y'all, our listeners. I hope that in the next handful of weeks, or, the next couple of months, you'll see how much better or how much more all three of us have learned, just by bringing individuals on, getting different points of view, maturing our businesses, recognizing what doesn't work, taking things to market. It's going to be really interesting to see kind of what that looks like. And hopefully we'll have something to show for it. I would hope that all three of us have successful brands or companies within the next handful of months. And, it'd be cool just to see back this journal. That's kind of what this podcast is feeling like a little bit right now. So anyway, thanks again, Matt. We love hearing about Ringster. It's always cool to see what you're doing. This next episode, what we're going to do is we're going to basically hold the same format with Jackson. He's going to talk about his new clothing company, Lion. And we're just going to try to see what he's been doing over the last few months, what his next steps are, where he's getting the product, what the product's going to be looking like, how he's going to market it, all of that. Basically himself answering that question that you just asked, Matt, his actionable items. Anyway, we'd love to have you on our next episode. We're gonna be recording it tomorrow. Again, the goal is to get at least 4 episodes a week, Monday through Thursday. Hoping to get high quality mics, splitters, or whatever in the next few days. And that's true. Yep, you can listen on YouTube, Anchor, which allows you to have Spotify and what is it, Apple Music or Apple Music? Maybe we don't know for sure yet, but we'll have to check that out. But anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll hear from Jackson tomorrow.